That's probably where you broke through to me, because I'm in this personal development space at this point in my life. And I see a lot of that content that breaks through where you're clearly speaking to young men, trying to figure out how to be a high value person and really considering how to attract a high value woman into your world. It's a sticky topic, man. How do you attract a high value woman if you're a 21-year-old and you're trying to become someone at that young age?
So the issue is there's the evolutionary features that all humans have, or like in general, almost all humans have, which is basically sort of the concepts like men are more interested in facial symmetry, hip to waist ratio, signs of youth, physical attractiveness in a woman. And then women are more interested in a man's status, his ability to procure resources, his access to scarce resources, his social proof, things like that. And in general, we see those things, and those things will be the same way 1,000 years from now. They're not going to be weeded out. There's no selection pressure against them. So we're going to see humans act this way for a long time. Then there's culture, and culture evolves much quicker than humans do. And one of the biggest cultural adaptations we've had is the internet, and more specifically dating apps and social media apps. And because of that, what's happened is there's a certain group of men that are able to display status at incredible scale. One of my good friends is Dan Bilzerian. He's probably the proto example of that.
For sure.
And so in his case, he's able to display status. And does his status work for every woman every time? Of course not. No. But it works for so many women so frequently that from his perspective, he's got 40 women a day coming to try to go out with him. So when you see that kind of situation, then you understand, well, if you can do this, like for instance, consider a movie star back in the 1980s, consider a Tom Cruise or whoever, his ability to just like reach out and pluck attractive women, a George Clooney.
Sure.
It wasn't that great. But now they just slide in your DMs. Girls get that DM from Champagne Poppy, Drake's IG, and the next thing you know, they're on a private jet. And like they had no intention of cheating on their boyfriend, but of course they just fucked Drake. Yeah. You know, just this shit happens. And like the thing is, it seems so unreasonable until you talk to enough women who've been flown out to Dubai or been at least approached about having dinner with a guy for $5,000. I'm not saying all women are susceptible to this, but what I'm saying is enough women are susceptible to it that what's happened is the entire market has shifted to where the men with the highest status are getting the most attention.
It's true.
And men who fall short of that high status level are getting little attention. For those of you who question whether or not this is true, you should look at the statistics from dating apps. The top 10% of men on dating apps get 63% of the right swipes. The top 20% of men get 83% of the right swipes. The top 40% of men on dating apps get 96% of the right swipes, which means the bottom 60% of men are competing for 4% of women.
Interesting.
Okay?
Wow.
And by the way, when you pay, I don't know if you've seen like, I think Tinder stock just like crumbled in the last couple of months. If when you pay extra for the boost on those Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge apps, you know what happens? It's 93% men and 7% women do that. So you actually like put yourself in an even worse situation in some cases. So it's one of these things where when women were surveyed, women found 80% of men they encountered to be below average attractiveness. Well, of course, mathematically that doesn't work, or it does, but it's very difficult to do. Women basically see, because of social media, and we're talking mainly in short-term dating context, women see 5s as 0s, 6s as 0s, 7s as 0s, 8s as 5s, 9s as 7s, and then there's only like 3 10s, like Drake, Chris Hemsworth, and fucking Aquaman. Like that's it. Everyone else is like a 9.5. So men are the scale is skewed so far to the left, and you should expect this from an evolutionary standpoint because women are going to be more picky than men. There's this thing in evolutionary psychology called the parental investment hypothesis, which of the two genders in a species, the one that has more parental investment is going to be the more selective of the two. You see it with certain fish, sure, male fish and male seahorses, but mostly with mammals, you see the females, the ones that gestate the pregnancy. They're the ones who have to the males compete for. Sure. So that's so you should expect more pickiness from women. Also, 70% of divorces are initiated by women because of this pickiness. But when you come to these realizations, then it's like, okay, you're asking, what does a man have to do to get a high status woman? And the answer is more. He needs to actually show more. And a lot of times it's like, I had my buddy FitX Fearless on, and he was talking about, he like brushes his lips. Like, bro, he gets the ball fade every week, and he like does beard care. And he said some of the people will get on his comments and be like, bro, you're trying too much. And I'm like, he's trying too much, but he's also fucking your girl. So like, is he really trying too much? Yeah. It's like the guy who like wants to improve his sales team every week. He has meetings with his sales team and he's like, guys, we need to really get to the pain point. We need to keep these guys on target. And you sit there and you go through, you know, you go and review sales calls and you're like, this is what you could have done better. And you have a sales trainer who helps him. Is that guy doing too much or is he actually trying to build his business? And so the reality is right now with social media, I encourage my guys to get as many high quality photos of them in high status situations. Could be with girls, might not be with girls, could be with a nice car, might not be with a nice car, but just hiking, doing cool stuff. Do as much as that as you can, because now your status is not only easily seen by a lot of people because they're the ones checking you out. It seems from your standpoint to have low perceived effort. Those are Bilzerian's words in his book, The Setup. Low perceived effort.